So these wheels here I bought off Amazon, and they are designed for boats. So they go like this, and then you basically screw them on there. And the wheel is on a spring-loaded mechanism, and it pivots out like this. So when you're not using them, they can be stuck out like that, tilted all the way up like this. But the problem is with this particular one is it won't allow me to mount it flushly and nicely on the boat there and have it all the way up. So we're gonna have to see what we can do about that in this video. But before we can get these installed, we need access to the inside of the boat here, so I can put a backing plate inside the boat and have something to bolt it to that's nice and secure. So we're gonna do what everyone else does on these tiny boat forums, and we're gonna create a porthole or a hatch first. So let me show you what I have here for that. So I picked up these, I think they're 6 inches hatch covers, and the way these work is you drill a 5.5 inch hole and in the boat and install these. So I picked up a 5.5 inch hole saw here. What's going to happen here is I'm going to remove this cleat, and we are going to install this right here, like just like that. And the way we remove the cleat is by drilling out these rivets that are in here. I've already done one, so let's go ahead and do the other one. And I'll show you what you do here. You just get a drill bit like about that size, drill right into the rivet. I already did one side already, so just had to do one more. And what you're left with is this blank slate here. And then I should be able to drill a hole and get this hatch cover put in here like that. And once we have a hole in here and this thing installed, or before this is installed, we can get our hand inside of the inside of the boat and fasten our wheels to this section here and bolt it on through the inside and the outside. Once the holes are in there, we'll be able to have access to the inside of the boat for other things like running wires down through the inside and such. I'm going to be moving my transducer for the fish finder permanently to the boat somewhere, in the back here somewhere. So maybe in the front even, I'm not sure. Maybe I'll put it in the front, but the transducer has to be nice and low. It'll probably go in the back, to be honest. But I need to make sure that it doesn't hit anything and break off, so I gotta think about that. That's another project, but for now we're gonna go ahead and get this hole drilled and figure out where I want it. Let me go grab a permanent marker and we'll make some holes. All right, so I have the hatch here, actual cover off the hatch plate, and this is what we're gonna be drawing our circle with. So got the hole saw here, and it says 5.5 inch hole, although it doesn't seem like to be perfectly lining up. That'll make it nice and snug. I like to wing it with a lot of things, so we're gonna just go ahead and wing it here. But what I'm gonna do here is lay this down right side up. I wanna make sure that it's on the flattest surface possible. So right here is where it bends, right there. So I don't wanna drill anything over here. I wanna keep the drill hole up here a little bit. So I'm just gonna lay this down here and kind of go for it. And I'm just going to center it on there and drill the hole. And then when I get this one drilled, I'll be able to kind of measure it and get the other one on the other side as close as possible, because there's going to be a hole here and over there. I'm going to hold it down nice and tight while I draw this hole. All right, my SD card ran out of space, so just got done swapping that out. And I'm going to show you the circle we just finished drawing. I like the positioning of it. So now we need to find the center of this. And in order to do that properly, I have to go grab a couple tools, and I'll show you how we find the center of a circle really easily. Alright, so I'm making some mistakes here, but luckily I'm making them, and I can tell you guys what to do differently. So remember how we measured the inside of the circle? Well, that's not the correct measurement. It's actually the outside of the lip here is where you want to measure, because this is about 8 inch thick. So we're losing, by measuring on the inside, we are losing about 1/4 inch of space. So what I did here is I drew my first circle that we already drew, and took the hole saw And when I set it down, I realized it was way bigger. The hole saw was way bigger than the circle I drew. So I was like, something's off. So then I took the lid of the hatch that comes off and made sure it's the same size as the 5.5 inch hole saw here, and it is. And did some more thinking and realized, okay, yeah, so my original hole was off. So what you want to do actually is you want to use your hole saw with the bit out to draw your hole where you want it. And I already made my center point from the other circle, so now I have to redo my center point. A little trick here that I learned by watching some YouTube. Let me scratch out a couple lines here I made though, and I'll show you how to find the center of a circle. So ideally you want to use a framing square or some sort of square where you can have a 90 degree. And in this case, I couldn't find my framing square. So I just made this little 90 degree square out of some 80-20 scraps I had in the garage. And what you want to do is you want to lay down the corner of this on the outer edge of the line that you drew for the circle. Anywhere on the circle. So I'll turn it upside down so I can see it a little easier. And I'm just lining it up to the outer side of the circle and holding it in place away from the marks I already drew on my mistake. So you want to lay your 90 degree square so that it lines up just to the outer edge of that circle there. And when you do that, you can draw two lines where your square meets the circle like this. One right there and the other one right there. Now you have those two new lines there. This is my new line, and that's my new line. You want to take a straight edge of some sort, like this ruler I have, and you're going to connect those two lines where they meet the outer circle. So there's one of the lines there, and one's over here. You're going to connect those two together with your square, or sorry, with your straight edge. And you're going to draw a line down the center of the circle. I'm doing this one really long because I have two other ones that I screwed up on. And then you want to repeat the process with your square anywhere else in the circle. So you take your square and you repeat the process by adding it, lining it up to the outside of the circle, and then drawing your line and your other line. And now I have two more lines that I just drew, one here and one here, and we're going to use the straight edge to connect those two intersections together and draw another line straight down the middle. I know it's a total mess, but I'll show you guys on the other side when I get over there. So the center should be right there. So I'm going to go ahead and measure it just to double check. 2 3/4, which is center. 2 3/4 is center. So we have center. So we found the center now. I'm going to start with drilling a pilot hole. It's kind of on a weird angle due to the boat. But I got a little hole there right in the center. So if I did this correct, this little hole here should be my center point. And those holes were from the cleat that was on here. So there's the center point. And now we get to drill the hole. And we're just going to go for it. And hopefully it works correctly. So you can see the hole saw is on my line. Tiny little, off a little bit on this side over here, but not by much. Otherwise it's pretty damn close to where I want it. We should be good though. Let's drill some holes, baby. Oh, there it is. Oh my god. Hope this worked. And if I didn't mention it, which I don't think I did, another benefit of having these holes back here gives you the ability to, I don't know, see inside the boat. And if you need to, maybe get a vacuum in there, like a wet vac, and suck out any water that might be inside the boat. So that's cool. But let's take a look, because one thing I noticed right away is all the styrofoam. So here's the inside of the boat. And we have two separate pieces of styrofoam here. A big chunk here and a smaller piece. Now they are necessary for the purpose of flotation. The problem is I'm not going to be able to get my hand back behind there to screw in the backing plate for the wheels. So we're going to have to we're going to have no choice but to remove some of that styrofoam, but it shouldn't really affect the boat too much. We'll get rid of a couple pieces, or a couple inches. So I'm wondering how I'm going to cut that styrofoam, but we'll get to that later. All right, let's see if it fits. Ta-da! Fits real well, actually. Look at that. And let's see if the lid fits on there nice. Yep, fits on there real good. Let's take a look at it from a different angle. So we have the porthole here, and everything went pretty good on this side. When you take the cover off, you have access in here for whatnot. Now I was hoping that I could store stuff in here, but that's just not really the case at all with the styrofoam in there. But I am curious if there's any water in there, so let me go grab a flashlight and we'll check that out. Alright, I know it's going to be impossible for you guys to see this. So there is some water down there, but it's not much. It's about a half an inch. So we'll have to get that out at some point. But this boat comes with some drain holes right up front here. That's what these guys are, these little plugs. So you can tip the boat up on its front end and get all that water out of those holes. So I'll have to do that at some point. I'm not too worried about it right now. I have to remove this rope here, and I'm not going to have these cleats to tie this onto anymore, so I'll just tie it onto these handles. I might put some new smaller cleats right on these hatch covers too. I might. But for now, we got to drill this cleat out and get rid of it. So let's just draw the circle, get this over with. Just as we did before, to find the center, we'll take our improvised square here and we'll line it up to the outer edge, anywhere on the circle, just like right there. And we're going to draw two lines, draw a line, draw a line. Now we take our straight edge and we connect those two lines that we just drew that meet the circle, take the intersections of those, and draw a line through the center. Now we have the center line here, and now we have to repeat that same process by moving your square to any other part of the circle and repeating that same thing. Matching it up with the outside of the circle, and don't forget to make sure to draw your lines on the outside of your square. First line, second line, and we're going to connect those together with a straight edge as closely as possible. If you want to use a pencil so you don't have such fat lines, you'll be able to be more accurate with your center point. And that X is my center, so I'm just going to kind of double check it here. I'll go from the center here to one of the intersections, and we got about 2 3/4, which is fine. 2 3/4. It's fine. I'm happy with that. And there's the hole. Ah, cool, I just realized something, which makes everything so much more convenient now. Check this out. On this side, you don't see any styrofoam. You see it, but it's up there. So it actually slides around, which is really cool, because I really didn't want to have to cut it. And you can see there's a piece of styrofoam right there too underneath the seating area. There's a lot of styrofoam in here to keep this thing afloat, which is pretty awesome. Let's check out the other side real quick. See how this goes all the way up? Well, apparently it moves. Oh, that's so nice. Well, there's a helpful tip for you. Styrofoam slides. Now I have access to the inside without having to cut the styrofoam at all. Now you can see the water accumulation a little better as well. There we go. There are the two portholes just sitting in place there. So the next part of this process is getting them permanently mounted, which is going to require using some of this 3M Marine 5200 adhesive sealant, black in color. I didn't even realize it was black till right now. That's cool. Matches what I got going on here. So what we're going to have to do is get some stainless steel screws or bolts. I think screws will be fine, but maybe bolts would be better. Probably bolts. So I'm gonna have to go to Ace and get some of those. Probably not today. I think I'm running out of time to get over there, but I'm gonna have to get some of those, and we're gonna get this screwed in place and use some of this adhesive on the inside of it, and then also on this side, of course, and then we'll do a nice bead around the edge when we're done. And this stuff I picked up here, you can find this on Amazon. This is just a 1/2 inch thick piece of plastic. You can find it by searching like hard plastic for boats, and they sell this for marine applications, probably similar to mine. So this is going to be a 1/2 inch backing plate that goes on the inside of the boat, but I do have a 1 inch piece as well over there on the porch that I could use. I could get away with using 1 inch on the inside and outside, which would create a nice firm backing plate for those wheels. Not quite sure the size I'm going to use yet, because I'm trying to determine how I'm going to fasten those wheels back here. I'm trying to bring the wheels out far enough where they won't hit the top. I don't even think the positioning would bring it out far enough where I want it, honestly. Unless I had it at an angle, but I can't do it at an angle. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is just deal with these wheels either being in the water like that all the time, or it looks kind of dorky, but it won't create any drag. So I can have them straight out like that, because they just don't give us enough mounting points. But I could create a new mounting point right here in between these two. I guess it's not called mounting point, it'd be called latch point, where these wheels latch when they're in position. I could create a new one between those with a little Dremel. Perhaps I'll do that, and I could have it at an angle going up that way, so the wheel would be angled up like that if I created a new point for it, which actually wouldn't be the worst idea. If I just cut this top one down, I could create it that way so it sits wherever I want it to, like that, and then it would be completely out of the way and up. But I don't know, I think it's fine just being out. I don't think this hurts anything to have it straight out like that. And then when we're wheeling it around, we'll have it like this. I just have to decide where exactly I want it mounted when it's in the down position. I have to go to get some more material to get this completed, so for today we're going to call it quits, and I'll get to this here soon in another day or two. All right, it is the next day, and it's beautiful out here. Almost too beautiful and too hot, but I went to my locally owned hardware store, and I picked up some stuff. The weekend's coming, and I plan on working on this thing all weekend. I have 2 more of these hatch covers coming, which I am going to install up front. I'm not sure if I'm going to install them right here. I think I might. Actually, I don't think I can. It's too like convex. So I think I'm going to install them right here where it's flat. We'll get to that this weekend anyways. So like I said, I went to the local hardware store. There's a place just down the street for me, which is not an Ace Hardware, you know, not a big box store. It's a local store that sells metric supplies, metric hardware, and I got these stainless steel Allen head bolts that'll fit in the cover very nicely, and I got some nylon lock nuts as well. So what I'm going to do here, I decided yesterday, I'm going to install it right here with these 2 holes, with these 2 mounting points on the top and the 2 on the bottom, because it's kind of flexing upwards and downwards. So if I put just one hole on the top and bottom like that, these two, I'm worried that it's not going to be that secure. So we're going to go ahead and do the two like that. I've already gone ahead and grabbed a drill bit that'll fit right in the holes for the hatch cover. And I'm going to put these in here, and I'm just going to eyeball it as closely as I can. And I'm going to start by drilling some holes here. Easy peasy. Line this up and screw them in, but before we screw it in, we also have to add some of the marine sealant I bought. I'm going to go right along the inner edge here and just put a nice solid bead. Should really be all we need. I'm not really worried about water getting in here. I'm not going diving with this boat, so a nice little bead around that should be enough. Put the cap back on here. And once I press this in, that little bead I just added will level out. So I'm going to put it right in here. Press it down a little bit. Hopefully none of it squishes out the sides too much, but we'll clean up whatever's out the sides here in a minute. So I'm just going to start working my way into these holes and get this thing installed. And I'm just going to try to get this one side on here for you guys tonight, and then I'll do the same thing to the other side tonight off camera. I'm also going to have to go wash my hands before I touch the camera because I don't want any of this stuff on my camera. But that's what she looks like. And the lid will come off and go on just fine, actually. We got to press it down a little bit to catch the... It's hard to do with one hand, I guess. Not really, but it will go on there and stay nice and tight. But I have all this black stuff around the edge I need to clean up tonight, so we're gonna call it for tonight on this video. I will be back either tomorrow or this weekend to continue this video. Of course, it's one video for you guys, but it's going to be a video of getting those wheels installed on the boat, so I'll be back. All right, it's been a couple days, I think 2 or 3 days. I've been busy here at my brother's place doing a lot of stuff on the yard, but we're getting back to the video here with installing the wheels. So as I said, it's been a couple days, and I have these ports here. They look pretty good, or hatches, I guess. One there and one there. And the 3M adhesive is not curing nearly as fast as I would like. I mean, it is still, technically it's still sticky, but it's also been in the 80s out here, so I think it's taking a little bit longer to cure than I would like. But I do have a tarp coming tomorrow to cover the boat with, to keep it from sun damage and rain. Maybe that'll help that cure a little bit quicker. I came over here to measure where we're going to be installing these wheels, and then we're going to go in the garage and we're going to cut some backing plates for it. So what we have here is, I can get away with 3.5 to 4 inches, somewhere in that range. No more than 4 though, for a backing plate on the inside. So we're going to go in the garage here, and we are going to cut a backing plate for the first wheel and see if we can't get one lined up and installed tonight. At least one, and I'll do the other one off camera and show you guys what it looks like. So we have the wheel, and then we have this plastic. I'm not sure if I showed you this in a previous clip or not. This is a boat plastic. I forget what it's called exactly, but I will put links in the description for all the products I used on this install, so you can check those out and find out exactly what this is. Put this on here, line it up, let's mark this and let's cut this out. Yeah, just kind of cut this plastic. It's wrapped in a cellophane of some sort. So I'm going to line this straight edge on this side. Since it goes in, it's not straight. I'm going to line it up as close as I can, use like a nail or a pick or something, and just kind of mark this side. There we go. Should have done this, should have used this on the first line I drew, but it doesn't really matter. And now we're going to get to cutting. Here's the little piece I just cut out. That's the cut side I just did. It is just a solid piece of plastic. Nice solid piece of plastic here. We're going to drill some pilot holes. I just got off the interwebs looking at some Facebook groups of other people who install wheels like these, and of course you get a bunch of comments of people saying if you install these things, you know, over time the holes are going to get bigger, it's going to leak, blah 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 blah, you know. I mean, that's just how it is on the internet. So, you know, decide for yourself if you want to put them on or not. I'm going to. And I was just referencing some images to see where other people mount them. And I think my original idea of where I want them is fine, which is right here. So I'll show you where I mounted them when I'm done drilling some holes. And you guys can either, if you're going to do this, you can use the same method I did or create your own method. That's what's great about doing stuff that on your own. Here we go, first hole. Well, there we go. All right, I have to maneuver the wheel out of my way and drill the last two holes. Four holes in my boat, and I believe the two bottom ones are going to be under the water line. We got two up there and two down there. Next plan of action here is to get the whole thing mounted. So I'm gonna go get my 3M silicone, and I'm gonna cover the back of the wheel. We're gonna cover the outer perimeter and probably some in the middle, and we are going to screw this in through this and get it mounted to the boat. So I decided I'm gonna go drill these out just a little bit bigger, so I don't have to mess with trying to crank the bolts through there. So I will go drill that out a little bit, and I'm going to come back with the silicone and the tools I need to get this thing installed. I'm going to scruff up the outside of the boat a little bit. And I'm also going to go ahead and do it to the backing plate. Just the one side, of course. It's going to be on the inside of the boat. Probably wouldn't be the worst idea to scuff up the inside of the boat as well. Sorry about the assholes driving around out here. All right, the next step, guys, is going to be to apply the sealant to all of my stuff. So it's going to be hard to do this on camera, and yeah, it's going to be hard to do it on camera. So it doesn't really matter if it's ugly or not. No one is going to see it. All right, just like that. I'm going to set that down here. I'm going to dab it on each hole. Nice big dab. And then around the outside here. Particularly want it around the outside. And I'm going to go ahead and do some right here in the middle too, of course. That should do it. I'm gonna go ahead and put the backing plate in first. I know you guys can't see this real well, but I'm gonna get the backing plate on there and try to get this in there. Actually, shit. Oh, this would be better if I had another hand, but I don't. So you just have to find the hole. Okay, I got the first hole here. Hopefully this stays. I screw it in. I think it's going in just fine to the backing plate. So I'm just gonna see if it is, and it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue this with the next bolt. I grabbed some adapters here so I can use my impact to try to get this through the backing plate a little easier. A lot easier using the impact or a drill or whatever you have to get it through the plastic. But now the hard part is to put the washer and the lock nut on the back. So hopefully I can do this because I can't really see what I'm doing. You guys can't see what I'm doing either. Tighten it down on the nut. All right, got one done. Now I gotta do the next one. All right, they are all on. So what I'm gonna go do here, guys, is try not to get all this stuff on my clothes or my camera equipment. I'm gonna go wash my hands. I'm gonna grab some Q-tips to clean up the edge of this. All right, guys, a little bit of hand cleaner will get you cleaned up for the most part, 95%. Let's take a look at the wheel. What's kind of cool, at least on this side, there's a nice bead of that. There's a nice bead of that marine sealant on the edge there. Let's see the other side. Also on the other side, nice bead. I'm not sure if you can see that. There you go. The top has a decent bead too. Top won't get much water, but the bottom will. This is kind of the water line. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab some of these Q-tips here, and I'm just going to kind of clean up around the edge a little bit. I think I'm more concerned with it taking on water than I am with the looks, so I don't think I'm going to spend too much time cleaning it up. It's going to fall back down to that level there. So I could always notch out the top to where this will sit like that if I want to, but I mean, how much room does that save me? A couple inches. I might just leave it like that. It's starting to get dark out here, guys. So I am going to do the other side tomorrow off camera, and when I get it done, I will come and show you guys what everything looks like. And I'll show you the side we did tonight and the sealant, the marine sealant, and see how it looks. I think it's going to be just fine. I am not worried about taking on any water. I mean, we are sealed up really good. So all you keyboard warriors out there that are watching this, yeah, I will let you know once I drop the boat in the water in a couple weeks. We're going out in a couple weeks, so I'll drop the boat and we'll see if we sink or not, if we stay afloat. But I think we're going to be just fine. All right, it has been about a week or so since the last clip in this video, and we got the boat in the garage because we had a snowstorm yesterday. So a couple days ago I ended up putting the second wheel on here outside, and then my buddy and I wheeled the boat in here, and I took this off and I added the 5200 sealant to it. The boat actually wheeled quite nicely. with those two wheels. It's a little heavier than I thought it was going to be from the front. It can be done with one person, but you might want to be removing your battery and your motors and anything else that adds extra weight into it if you're going to be wheeling it around by yourself. But with two people, I think it's manageable to wheel around, at least for short distances, like off of your trailer and then onto the concrete and down to the boat ramp or whatever. So anyways, I brought it in here and I took the wheel back off and I added my 5200 sealant here. And this one we did like about a week ago, and the sealant is still curing. It's actually doing much better now since I put these two heat lamps on them. These are just heat lamps for like reptile tanks. Just emits like a nice warm heat, nothing super direct. And I'm planning to leave those on for the next 3 or 4 days until I take this thing out to the lake. But if it's not cured in time, I don't know. Maybe I won't take it to the lake, or maybe I'll take it to the lake and we're going to be there for 5 days. Maybe it'll cure in time and we can get it out in the water. But this sealant is supposed to be, you're supposed to be able to use it, apply it underwater. So I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna work or what, but we'll find out. Anyways, what else do we do? Well, I got the other side on here. I think this side, hatch cover. So got the other hatch cover on. This stuff, this 5200 up here is actually curing really nice and quickly. And then just today, I went ahead and installed 2 more hatch covers up here. So now we have these 2 as well. And there's quite a bit of room in this area. I know it's hard to see, but yeah, you can fit quite a bit of stuff in there. But the cool part is, now that I have the 2 hatch covers here and the 2 in the back, I'll be able to run wiring from the back to the front pretty easily, just down the pontoons here. I do have that green circular thing there is my snake, so you can just run that down and attach your wires and pull them through. Yeah, pretty cool. Up here on the front, I ended up using just silicone instead of that 5200 because it takes so damn long for that 5200 to cure, and I'm a little less worried about these front ones getting having water intrusion. So got those 2 things installed. And one thing I wanted to mention here is that this cleat here had broken off at one point, and I kept it, but they were from the manufacturer. They were just held on with some rivets, like a metal and plastic rivet. So this snapped off, and you know, now that I have these access to the inside of the boat up here, I was able to put this back on with some through bolts, as you can see here, and lock nuts and washers on the other side. And now that's nice and tight, and I don't expect that to come off at all from pulling on it too hard. And while I was at it, I drilled out the rivets for this side and added through bolts on this side as well. So now we have 2 solid cleats here, and they're not going anywhere. So what's next? Well, I do have more plans for the boat. I don't have a whole lot of time today to do more, but I'll explain kind of what my plans are real quick. I'm going to be installing my transducer. I have a transducer on the bottom here of the trolling motor, but as you can see, it's all torn up. And you might guess how that happened from the trolling motor. Well, actually, that is not how it happened. Muskrats got a hold of this wire while it was parked while I was docked in one of the lakes around here, and there's muskrats all over the place there, and they decided to have a nice fun time ripping my cable apart. So that's useless, and I picked up a new one, a new transducer for the Striker 4, I think. So I'm going to be installing that as well. I think I'm going to get that done today. But I bought a transom mount for it, so it is going to get mounted right next to this wheel here, right here on the transom. So I'm not quite sure exactly where I'm going to put it. So let me go grab that and we'll see kind of where it fits. We'll get this wheel out of the way. For now. So you know what I was doing? I was looking around my garage and I came up with something that might work and kind of a different idea. So I have these clamps here. I'm going to show you guys how these work. So I have these cheap $3 clamps from Harbor Freight sitting around the garage. I got 20 of them and they still make these, so you can always go buy some more. But I was looking at this and I was thinking, hey, so the way this works is it slides up by itself, but it won't slide down unless you push this lever on the bottom and move it down. So I was thinking, hey, what if I use this as the mount for it, and then if something hits the bottom of the boat right here on this little lever, it would just push this up out of the way, but then I can push it back down. And it got me to thinking, maybe I can modify this somehow so I can mount the transducer on this, and effectively, like I just said, if it hits something on the bottom, it would just push out of the way and push up without damaging the transducer too much or breaking the transducer off. And then I can literally just push it down on my own from the back of the boat. So yeah,